colder today, isn't it? Okay, so let's start looking at these these submissions. War Wolf Group. That's good. I forgot to ask all the groups to make names. I forgot to do that. But yes, please feel free to suggest names for your group. War Wolf. That sounds like a mean group. War. War and wolves. Okay, paper title, Visible Natural Language Processing. I remember that one. He also wrote a novel, interactive, sound generic. Yes, this is a good summary of the concept. And I think, if I remember correctly, this paper uses the language like introducing the concept of. So implementation, a case study on text similarity quantification is used to demonstrate. This is not correct, actually. This is the evaluation. So the evaluation is a case study on text similarity quantification. The implementation is a visual interface that shows visually each stage of the NLP pipeline. Yeah, so that's the implementation. And a screenshot would be a good thing to show here, a screenshot of the natural language processing pipeline. The core related work, okay, this is a tricky one because this paper, the core related work is not so obvious. But these are good. These are good. This is a good description of the core related work. Input data characteristics. Yes. Natural language text. That's right. You only need that. The framework is designed to handle natural language text. You don't need the rest of this. Type of evaluation, case study. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Representative images. I don't think these are the world's best representative images. There's an image that shows like an overview of the whole system, and I think that would be a good, but this is fine. You're not really going to get scored on the representative images. You'll get points for including a representative image, and you'll get points deducted for missing it. But the exact one you choose, you won't be scored necessarily. Okay, DOI and PDF. Okay, so that's a good one. This group, if you take this feedback, the War Wolf group, say that 10 times fast, I think they're going to do well on coursework 1. Yeah. I guess what I'm happy about is there's some learning going on. I can see that there's some learning happening, taking place, which is nice. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is too much. This concept is too much. So look, does anybody know where this sentence belongs? This sentence belongs in the implementation. This is not about the concept anymore. This is about the implementation. The word developed interactive software, that is all about implementation. Remember the last lecture to separate the concept from the implementation? So just copying and pasting the whole abstract is going to result in points that are deducted. You'll get deducted points for this because you're confusing the concept with the implementation with the results and the evaluation. They should be separated. Yep, this is not bad, but for this summary, I would take this sentence, these two sentences, I would move these two sentences down to the implementation. Okay, for the core related work, this is not the core related work, actually. The core related work is another paper on tree map literacy by Elif Farhat. If you look carefully, there's another tree map paper on tree map literacy in the related work, and that is the core related work for this paper. Okay, input data characteristics. This is also incorrect. This is not correct. If you look carefully, there's an input data set to the software. That is what you want to describe in this case. Okay, type of evaluation. The type of evaluation in this case is a user study. So a user study is the type of evaluation in this because there's a control group and there's an experimental group and they're compared side by side. So this group, be very careful. This group needs to think more carefully about this exercise. Yeah. It's colder today. I think they decided not to turn on the heat today. I'm wearing 2 layers. And I have my tea and I'm still feeling a bit cold. Okay, you don't need the minutes of meeting. This is not the minutes of meeting exercise. Although, yeah, it's not the minutes of meeting exercise today. Okay, evaluating the impact of a constructive, okay, yep. Concept or paper contribution. The study investigates the impact of a constructivist approach to teaching students. I would say this is a good concept summary. Strictly speaking, you don't need this sentence because it's about the results, but it's okay to include that sentence. So this is a good summary of the concept. Yes, this is a good summary of the implementation. This is not necessary, this part. That's too much detail. You don't need to go into details about like how the students were separated into two groups and collecting, like formulating IDs and so on. So the core related work is actually the tree map paper. This is the core related work right here, that one. What is that? This one right here is the core related work. These other ones are not core related work. Yeah. So the input data characteristics, see this? This is data. This is hierarchical data. That's one of the input data sets, right? It's hierarchical data. That's the input data. Type of evaluation. So this is a user study evaluation. So this is a summary of the evaluation. That's not really, we're not looking for this much detail. It says here, type of evaluation. This is really a user study evaluation, a user-centered approach. And you could also mention that it's taken place in a classroom, like this one, for example. And the classroom was divided into half, and each half uses the software. Yep, that's a nice representative image. Yep. You only need one representative image, but it's okay to have more than one. Yep. Okay. So this is a good attempt here. Just needs a little bit of correction. I hope some groups chose some other papers besides the constructivist approach to tree map literacy. By the way, if there are any questions or comments, please let me know. I want to zoom in a little bit. Why can I not zoom in? Visualization for epidemic modeling. Okay, so this is a little bit of a challenging one. This is not a traditional research paper. It's not the traditional one. In computer science, usually the tradition is to develop a piece of software that demonstrates a concept or conduct a user study that also demonstrates a concept, or both. This one's a little bit different. Yes, this is a good summary of the concept. This is a good summary. Yes, this is a good summary of the implementation. That's correct. Okay, so for the core related work, this is a tricky question. This is not going to get full points. If you were to submit this, you would not get full points because you need a reference. You can't just say these are the topics in the related work. You need to identify one or two specific papers and cite them and include the references. So you'll get deducted if you don't do that. Yes, this is correct type of evaluation. Yeah, this paper doesn't have a traditional evaluation. It's more of a reflection on what happened. Okay, so representative images, you'd also get points deducted for this. If you submitted this for coursework 1, you'd get deductions. You need to actually include the images so we can see them. It doesn't do us any good to just say, oh, there's a figure in there. That's not very helpful. We need to see the image. Okay. See how much email I get? I get so much email. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. This is a really good paper. This is a good paper to summarize. It's a good paper to include. Yep. Concept. So, by the way, the concept I can see without reading it, it's already too long. Yeah. So, using a sensitive constellation daily data to calculate key animal behavior characteristics present on a single output file. So, this is not the best description of the concept, actually. Anybody know why? It's because the concept and the implementation are confused. Remember, we had this lecture 2 days ago where I spent a long time saying, here's the definition of concept, here's the definition of implementation. You must separate these two. You must figure out that they're different and separate them. And this description fuses them together. Right. So the concept here is the marine biologists want to study animal behavior. And they want to figure out what does the animal do when it's swimming at deep depths underneath the water. And they use sensor technology to try to figure out the animal behavior when it's diving deep underneath the water surface. That's the summary of the concept. If you start talking about the details of how it's implemented, for example, presented within a single output file, that's implementation. That's not the concept, right? So this one's confusing concept and implementation, which kind of defeats the purpose of the whole exercise. So I really, really hope, really am crossing my fingers, hoping that one of the things you can learn from this module is how to separate the concept and the implementation. And we're going to be looking out for this when we're scoring them. We really hope. This is all about implementation. This is all implementation here. Describing the software, how the software was developed, what the software does, that goes in the implementation section. See, there it is repeated again. Now, these sentences don't belong here either. Anybody want to know where these sentences belong? In the input data characteristics. This is the input data characteristics, not the implementation. Correlated work. Yep, that's okay. Yes, that's okay. Yep, that's fine. Yep, that's good. That's a cool image. Very cool image. Yep, that's a good image too. That's an interesting image. This is actually okay, but it's yeah, that's fine. Okay. Questions or comments about that one? Gesundheit. I don't understand why this window comes up. It just seems to come up sometimes when I'm trying to highlight the text. Should I also put on my hood to emphasize how the temperature? Okay. Yep. There it is again. Okay, so I look at the concept and I think, oh, it's probably too long. Too long. So, by the way, one of the skills that we're trying to learn is how to take this massive amount of data, which is the research paper, and compress it down into just a few sentences. This is challenging. This is a skill we're trying to develop. You know, a lot of students say, oh, Bob, I want to submit a video that's longer than 2 minutes. Can I submit a 30-minute video? And that defeats the purpose of the exercise, which is to condense everything down. Right? Maybe we should do like TikTok style, where you only have 30 seconds. Is that the TikTok limit? Does anybody know what the TikTok limit is?
More than.
Huh?
More than.
What is it? What is the
Maybe 1 minute and 2 minutes.
1 or 2 minutes? I mean, you guys all use TikTok, right? So you should know what the limit is. Anyways, maybe we could do one day a TikTok version where you only have the same amount of time that TikTok allows. We could do that. Would that be exciting rather than just 2 minutes? Anyways, we're not doing the TikTok version this year. Maybe next year. Okay, so the first sentence is okay. Like I said, the concept of this paper is really trying to understand animal behavior through the use of sensor devices. That's a one-sentence summary of the concept of this paper. Right? How animals behave is a mystery, right? And we can't always watch them. A lot of the behavior happens when we're not looking. And I think everybody knows about the theory that when you observe a phenomena, the observation itself affects the results. So sometimes you want to remove the observer from the whole experiment. And even this has a subtle aspect to it, because there's no guarantee that an animal is going to behave exactly the same if it's wearing a sensor as opposed to when it's not wearing a sensor. There's no guarantee. It's just assumed. And then this is all about implementation. This is all about implementation. So again, one of the goals that we have in this module is to separate the concept from the implementation. Get them separated in your head, right? And this is a very, very nice way to understand the world better, especially human behavior, to separate the concept and the implementation. I remember learning this when I was a master's student and just thinking, wow, this is really, really good stuff. Like, this is really, really educational, and it increases my understanding of the world dramatically, actually. Like, dramatically. So this, if you want to write the implementation, you have to write in complete sentences. To take these sentences and move them to the implementation would have been a good approach. So this core-related work is not quite correct. So you need to look at the related work section and then try to identify one or two papers that are really the core of the related work. Right? These people published a few papers before this that form the core of the related work. Yep, that's a good description of the input data characteristics. Yep, that's fine. But again, I would write in complete sentences. For the coursework, you're going to want to write in complete sentences. Okay. I hope that's helpful, that feedback. Okay. That seems to be the favorite paper of the day. Tree maps are a higher color, understanding them is crucial. Okay, this is like it's pretty okay, but the thing is the first sentence just repeats the title, so it wouldn't score full points. You know, you don't want to just repeat the title and say that's the concept, although there is certainly an overlap. But you'd want to say something a little bit more than just the title. So, for example, a complementary visual design was coupled with tree maps in order to increase the understanding and raise tree map literacy. That would be a good supplementary, another sentence to add to the concept. That would help a lot. Okay, so for this is okay, but you'd also want to mention the software that was developed. So you want to mention that there was special software developed in order to conduct this experiment, right? And the software is the software that conducts the node link diagrams with the tree maps. And then you can describe a little bit of the user study if you want. This information does not really go here. Anybody knows where this information would go? That would go in the evaluation section. Okay. So this is the core related work. So you've identified the core related work correctly. However, you need to cite it. You need to include a citation. I can say a lot of students will get points deducted from on this aspect in coursework 1. A lot of students. A lot of students will say something about previous work, but they don't include a citation, and they'll get points off. I can predict that now. I have psychic powers. I don't know what percentage of students will get that minus points, but a significant percentage, maybe like 10 or 20% or so. But since everybody here is seeing this and witnessing this, you guys won't make that mistake. Yes, this is correct. This is correct. Yes. So the type of evaluation is a classroom-based user study. That's the type of evaluation. Yep, that's a good representative. Oh yes, I'm not sure if this paper has a DOI yet or not. I don't think this paper has a DOI. Any questions or comments? Question?
Each group could test twice.
We do have each group do 2 tests. So there's a test before the experiment starts to see like what their current level of literacy is. And then they're split into 2 groups. And then there's a test at the end to compare the 2 groups.
And in those 2 groups, you have one group do both the demonstration.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So there's special terminology to the question you're asking. What you're describing is called a within subjects experimental design. That's when you take one group and you expose them to 2 different processes and compare the results. That's called, what did I just say? Within subject design. And then the one we chose is splitting it up to 2 different groups that have 2 different experiences. That's called between subjects design. And the question is, could we have done this within subjects design? It is possible, and I've seen people do it for other experiments. I guess I just have to, I would have to think about why. Like, why would that be better? And I don't know a good answer for that. But you can see in the related work section, if you go in the related work section, there are other literacy tests, and there are some, I believe, that do not split the group. They have one group and they expose them to 2 different experiences. But I think in this case it makes sense to split the groups up. I think, yeah. I can't think of a good reason why you'd want to keep the group together. Yeah.
The only reason why I was the results, they show maybe the opposite for between other definition of those
So if you wanted to sort of make the results of this more robust and more convincing, what you'd have to do is you'd have to repeat the experiment in another location and another time and see if the results can be reproduced. So right now it's just a one-time experiment, one location, and in order for it to be really convincing, you want to perform it multiple times. Yeah. Different groups of students, maybe different groups of teachers, like different universities, different countries, or anything different. Yeah. Good question. But those are tricky. Those are tricky questions. So when you're designing these experiments, you have to make those decisions, about the within subjects design and between subjects to design, how to make sure that you're reducing the number of variables. You actually only want one variable at a time to change. And it's not easy to design those experiments. It's really, really tricky, actually. It looks easy when you read the finished product, but when you're in the middle of the process trying to think carefully, like, how are we going to do this, it turns out to be a tricky, tricky process. Okay, so this is not a traditional research paper. There's no software development, for example, in this paper. This concept is incorrect, by the way. So this paper, the How to Write a Viz research paper, a starting point, is actually about, it's giving you a tutorial of how to write a visualization research paper. That is what it's about. Like the summary, the title, and the summary overlap quite a bit. It's a set of instructions about how to write a research paper. That's what it is. The implementation for this one, so this doesn't fit the standard research paper style. The implementation is a recipe that breaks down a research paper section by section. It tells you what sections to include, what they should be called, what they should address, and how to write them. So that is the implementation of this. That's how we would describe that. The core related work. So you want to try to get your core related work down to just 1 or 2 papers. You don't want to just include all the related work. Probably the most core related work would be these 2. How to review a paper, these 2. So there is no input data. This is not applicable in this case because this is a tutorial paper. It's a tutorial. And the same with the evaluation. It's a tutorial. The only evaluation this went through were the peer review process. So it went through a peer review process by a team of experts to say, is this thing worth publishing or not? Yep, that's a good representative image, yes. But this is not a traditional research paper, it's an untraditional one. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Okay, so this is a more kind of traditional research paper. So this section, abstract, we are not including the abstract in this coursework 1. Coursework 1 never mentions the word abstract or include an abstract. The abstract and the concept are not exactly the same. Can anybody explain the difference between the concept and the abstract? Any courageous people in here? That would be, like, if you can answer this question, you're going to do well on coursework 1. Can anybody know the difference or explain the difference between the concept, which is the first part we have to extract, and the abstract? Because the coursework one does not ask for an abstract.
The abstract is like a summary of the whole research paper, so like the concept of implantation, evaluation of results, whereas the concept itself is just the key contribution of this paper.
That's a perfect answer. What's your name again? Sylvia? Sylvia just gave a perfect answer. I am so happy. There's some serious learning going on. I think she spoke very quietly, so not everybody could hear her. Could anybody hear her? I forgot what she said already. No, I'm just kidding. So the concept, I'm sorry, the abstract includes everything. It includes a summary of the concept, a summary of the implementation, usually, and a summary of the results. That's included in the abstract. The concept is just a summary of the concept or a summary of the contribution, a summary of what's new, or a summary of the idea. Yeah, so that's the difference. And that's what Sylvia said, basically. Yeah. So we're not including the abstract here. Yep. So this abstract is mostly about the implementation, actually. So what is the concept here? The concept is that it's very challenging to come up with a good strategy for stream surface placement in CFD data. So this paper proposes a novel stream surface placement algorithm to support the engineers when they're trying to position the stream surfaces. That's the concept. Now, is this a very specialized topic? Yes, this is a very, very specialized topic. Matt Edmonds is like the first author, is the only PhD student in the world that has ever written a PhD on stream surface placement. It's very, very specialized. So that's the thing that makes this part difficult. This is very specialized. It's very advanced. The knowledge is very unusual. So that's what makes this difficult. Okay, there's no introduction. We don't have an introduction section in the template. Yes, this is good. But you'd want to make this a little bit more compact. This is too much detail. You're never going to be able to include all this information in coursework 1. So a concise summary of the implementation might be something like the vector field is partitioned or clustered into regions of similar behavior, and those regions of similar behavior are coupled to a tree map. And the user is able to interact with the tree map in order to visualize to place and visualize different stream surfaces. Again, it's difficult. This one is difficult. I'm not going to advertise this as being easy. But you've probably noticed that all the interesting skills that you ever learn are difficult. Those are the interesting ones. Easy skills are not interesting. You know, if you say to somebody, look, I know how to walk, you're not going to impress anybody because that skill is not special. It's not really difficult. The interesting ones are the difficult ones, right? Like I can do a flip, then you'll impress people. Or I can summarize a research paper, that's impressive. That's correct. The input data for this year is CFD simulation data. That is correct. So the evaluation is really about use case scenarios. The evaluation is just demonstrating how the method can be used in different use case scenarios. That's the evaluation for this one. Yes, that's a good representative image. You don't need all those images. Okay, there is a section missing, the core related work. You guys left out the core related work section. There's a previous paper by Matt Edmonds on stream surface seeding, and that's the core related work. It can happen pretty often. You might have noticed from this workshop that the core related work is performed by authors that overlap. It could be the same authors, or it could be the author list has some overlap with the core related work. In other words, one or more of the authors of this paper worked on the core related work of the previous paper. That happens pretty often. Any questions? Should we do one more or should we stop? Who votes stop? Who votes one more? Okay, not many people voting. Okay, we've got a few for one more. And then we'll stop. Okay, yes, this one. Okay, this again is not a traditional research paper. It's not like, it's a little bit, it deviates a little bit from the traditional one. It's got a lot of authors. Yes, that's a good description, I would say, of the concept. Yeah. Yes, that's a good description of the implementation. Okay, so for the core related work, again, you really need to cite some previous papers. You need to try to identify one or two core, very closely related papers and cite them. That's part of the, now I'm not going to advertise, I'm not saying this is easy. I am never going to say that, I'm not saying that about this exercise. This is not easy. The minutes of meeting protocol, that's easy. This is not easy. I'm not saying this is easy. That's a good representative image. The evaluation, there isn't really an evaluation in this paper. By the way, and the right answer to this is to say, you would type out the sentence that says, there is no traditional evaluation in this paper. Instead of an evaluation, there's a discussion section called Future Challenges in Visualization Education. Like, that would be the perfect answer here. Okay, I think we are out of time. Any questions before we stop? Happy Valentine's Day, and have a good weekend.